Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're doing a really big book on haul. Now, as you can see behind me, this is basically the only shelf I have in my house where I can keep books. There are like two other small shelves where I keep some books, but really the space is limited, and this has to house my books and my husband's books. So I kind of went a little bit crazy shopping this month, which you will see later in a book haul. And I realized that it was time. It was time to do a book on haul. Now, the books that I am hauling are usually books that A, I read and I didn't like, B, I read and I liked, but I didn't like enough to keep, or C, I haven't read and I know that I'm not going to read. Now, before anybody says anything, clearly I'm donating these books. I'm not throwing them out, to the garbage. Also, I would like to introduce my co-host, Chulu. He is here because I had to take him down from the top shelves as some of the books that I am hauling were his home. He's fine, don't worry, he's not going to be homeless. There will be plenty of books for him to sit on. So the first set of books I am hauling are actually 4 graphic novels, and they are Saga Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4. Now, you see, I only have 3 of them here, and that's because I already gave Volume 1 to my sister-in-law, who was looking for a graphic novel to read, and I gave that to her. And for my birthday, I got the first 3 of these, which basically covers the whole series up until now, so it didn't make sense to have this and this. So I'm just giving these to my sister-in-law, and I hope that she will enjoy them. Alright, now let's get to this pile over here. The first book I have here is called Spooksville, The Secret Path by Christopher Pike. I read this last year. It was fine. I'm never going to read it again. It was actually kind of boring. It wasn't my cup of tea. So it's going to the library or something. The next book, my stack of books just fell over. The next book I'm unhauling might be controversial for some people because I know a lot of people love this book. But I think my expectations of what this book was versus what it actually was made me not really enjoy it. And that is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. And I just realized that I bought a Diana Wynne Jones book recently. But anyway, I didn't enjoy this book. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love this book. I haven't seen the movie. I have no interest in seeing the movie. And I did get quite far in this book. I think I got like 300, I got about 300 pages in. But I just was over it and I didn't want to keep going. So I'm not going to keep it on my shelf when somebody will definitely enjoy this much more than I will. My books are not going to fit there. They're really not going to fit there. The next book I'm unhauling is actually a book that I really enjoyed, and that is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Now, the reason I'm unhauling this book is simply because even though I enjoyed it, even though I gave it 4 stars, I have no desire to hurt myself by reading this again because it's a really, really, really sad book and I just don't want to reread it. I don't want to go there. And it makes me sad because the cover is so beautiful, but I just don't want to go. In fact, just holding it and remembering the feels that I had at the end of this book makes me want to get rid of it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of it. Another controversial book that I want to get rid of is 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I have nothing to say. I really have 0 interest in this book. I have 0 interest in this duology. I have no interest in the Grisha trilogy. I'm sorry, it's just not something that I'm interested in. This was a birthday present, and while I very much appreciate people giving me gifts, sometimes those gifts just aren't what you want or are looking for. So I'm giving this away to somebody who's gonna want it. My cat wants to be a booktuber so bad, it's not even funny. The next book I'm unhauling is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. As you can see, there is a bookmark here at page 52, and that's when I stopped reading this book physically and turned to the audiobook, and I hated both versions. I just was not interested in the story. I wasn't sure what was going on. I didn't feel like it. So this one is also heading off to a better home. If you watched my February wrap-up, this is going to come like as 0 surprise for you, and that is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I don't even want to talk about this book. I was so bored reading this book. This book put me in the biggest reading slump ever. So, you know what? Maybe somebody out there finds that this is their jam, but I am not that person. So, this one is also getting donated. The next book I am unhauling is Release by Patrick Ness. And I think, yes, I am holding that backwards. I don't know what to say about this book. I love Patrick Ness, or at least I love, what's that called? A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. So I had such high expectations for this book, and it bombed so hard that I actually DNF'd it. There are these two characters that are brothers in the book that keep calling each other bro, and I just couldn't get past that. And I don't know, the story was slow. It felt like an adult trying to write teenagers. You know what I mean? Like that an adult that is so far removed from what being a teenager is, and they just kept trying to write it. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I'm sorry. I love Monster Calls and I love Patrick Ness, but just this wasn't my cup of tea. The next book I am unhauling is a self-published book called Orpheus, and the author is Cosmin F. Stursescu. Yeah, that's how we're gonna go with that. This book I found at a book fair for like €1, and I picked it up because I really like reading sci-fi, but I've tried to read it about 5 times, and it's just not, you know, we're not syncing together. So I'm gonna give it to the library, and hopefully somebody else will like it. Next up, we have a book that I'm not necessarily unhauling. I'm just giving it back to the person that let me borrow it because I tried to read it and I just couldn't get into it. And that is Morir no es lo que más duele by Inés Plana. This is a story about a murder and about a woman who's an alcoholic, who is also kind of a recluse, and it just feels like I've read this story a million times by now, and I just didn't enjoy it, so it's going back to the owner. I'm so sorry. I love it when people recommend books to me, but this one just didn't do it for me. And now we get to some of the harder books that I am unhauling. First up, we have the last 2 books in the Raven cycle. We have here The Raven King and Blue Lily Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. I loved this series so much that when in the library they didn't have the last 2 books, I went out and bought them, and I loved this book. And then this book happened, and I just, oh man, I can't. I hate the ending of this series with such a huge passion. It has one of my least favorite tropes. Like, I would rather this have had a love triangle than what it did have. And I don't want to spoil the ending, so I'm not going to say what trope it was. But just know that any book, including Harry Potter, that has this cop-out in any way in it, I'm gonna dislike it. So I don't see why I'm keeping this, even though I really like this one, and I don't even own the first 2. I think that I'm just gonna, you know, send these off to the library and have them be in the English section or something. And the ending of this book is so infuriating. That's why I'm getting rid of these 2. I feel like somewhere out there, Books and Lala is crying. And I don't want to make Books and Lala cry. But sorry, I just couldn't stand the end of The Raven King. Up next, we have The Innocent Man by John Grisham. Now, I bought this book because of the Netflix show based around this book. And I just really wanted to read the book before I saw the show because I'm that kind of person. But in the end, what happened was that I really don't like John Grisham's writing, and I had to force myself to get to page 20. And when you have to force yourself to get to page 20, you know that this is not the book for you. Unless it's Dune, then maybe you should try to get past page 20. Penny, you want to say hi? You want to say hello? I'm also a booktuber, and I can't stand it when mommy is filming and not paying attention to me. Next up, we have a book by a famous author called José Saramago, and this is Todos los Nombres, and I'm not interested, really. I saved this book from a flea market. They were just giving them away for free, and I was like, I'm totally gonna read José Saramago because he's like such a pretentious sort of author to read in Spanish, and I wanted to be that pretentious person that read this book, and I'm not. I'm just not that person. So I'm probably giving this to one of my friends who loves Jose Saramago, and you know, she'll probably be elated that I'm giving this to her. Next up, we have Arlington Park by Rachel Cusk. This is a book that is kind of slice of life, much smarter than I am, about women living in like bird cages of rich lives. That's how good I am at book summaries. But anyway, I read it. I didn't feel much about it, really. I couldn't really tell you what happened in the end. I mean, I can tell you what happened in the story, but the end was just like, meh. So I am letting this go. And the next 3 books that I am letting go of are simply books that I have duplicates of. The first one of those books being the Among the Hidden by Margaret Peterson Haddix, or Haddix. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. And this is the first book in the, what's it called, Shadow Children series. That is one of my favorite series. And I thought I had left this book back in Venezuela, so I bought it. And then I was putting it on my shelf, and it was right there. So I'm just, in this case, I am just taking this back to the store to return it because I already have it. Next up, we have the second book in the One Blood series by Tony DiTerlizzi. In this case, I just have 2 copies of this because for Christmas, 2 different people gave me 2 copies of book 2 instead of giving me 1 copy of book 1 and 1 copy of book 2. Now I have all of them, and this one is just sitting on my shelf all lonesome because I never read it because I have another copy. So it's going to the library. And the final book I'm having a hard time with because, well, let me tell you which book it is. This book is The Sleeveless Monstermologist by Rick Yancey. And the Monstermologist series is one of my absolute favorite series, if not my favorite adult series. Okay, that and The Magicians. But anyway, this is not what this video is about. The point is, I bought these books from Venezuela, and the dust jacket for the first book, which is this one, The Monstermologist, got damaged. So I did the obviously same thing, and I bought a second copy just for the dust jacket. I put it on my old book, and now I have this like brand new version with no dust jacket. But I kind of want to keep it. I don't know why. It's just that I love this series so much, and I just don't know. This one is hard for me. And also, it doesn't have a dust jacket, so I don't know who I would give it to. I think I would have to give it to somebody that really wants to read my favorite series of all time. If that's you, if you want either of these, like if you want Among the Hidden or if you want The Monstermologist and you are in Europe, please let me know and I will send them to you. And even if you are in the United States, you know what? I'll just send them to you. I know I said I would return this one, but if somebody really wants to read it, I'm your girl, okay? And that's it. I'm getting rid of 21 books, which is amazing because the haul that's coming up definitely has around that same number. So really, I really didn't do anything. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much to everybody that has subscribed. Thank you so much to everybody that likes my videos. And I will see you on, I think, Wednesday with a brand new video, which is probably gonna be my book haul. Bye!